Alright folks, this shit show saga of the Korean League of Legends team that won't stop exploding keeps getting wilder. This week we've got even more allegations of abuse, we've got police reports, and we've got what might be a total overhaul of Korean esports contracts. This shit keeps getting crazier, so let's just get into it. Alright, so here comes my favorite part of every Griffin video. The part where I try to recap every video before this one, and hopefully we still have enough time for a video after I'm done. Griffin is a League of Legends team. Their coach, CV left abruptly before Worlds, which kickstarted a chain of insane events that including Cho, the team's manager, being outed for forcing Kanavi, a minor, into signing a contract that was extremely unfair to him. Eventually, we learned that Cho and Griffin's management allegedly tricked Kanavi's parents into signing a contract that basically signed away Kanavi's right to consent to being transferred to another team. This was allegedly part of a scheme to pocket huge transfer fees for very little investment. Then, allegations began to spread that CV was verbally and physically abusive to his players while he was a coach on Griffin. Several Griffin players spoke to the media and alleged that CV said and did some pretty crazy shit. CV defended himself, saying that his words were being taken out of context and that he never physically abused anyone. Riot also banned Cho and CV though later they suspended CV ban and said they were starting a third-party investigation into the whole situation after a Korean senator said that Riot could be punished for penalizing CV under some sort of Korean whistleblower protection law. So Griffin let a bunch of their players leave the org for free, and CV has since joined up with a new League of Legends team, Dragon X. The investigation into his alleged abuse is continuing, but right now we have a new development. According to Korean news site News One, Griffin's top laner, Sword, has filed a police report against CV alleging physical abuse. This is, as far as we know, the first time anyone has gotten the cops involved in this whole situation, so it's a pretty big deal. As a quick refresher, Sword was one of the players who spoke to Inven and accused CV of verbal and physical abuse. He said that CV grabbed him by the collar and shook him, and then later told him that he wasn't sorry for his actions. And this is a direct quote from that interview. He also said that I'm disgusting and that he can't handle me. He said that if we lose because of me, he'll follow me to the end of the world to get revenge, or that he'll kill me. According to a translation of that News One article provided by Inven, Sword's father said that once the team made it to LCK, CV coaching style got more and more violent and he began insulting players. Sword's father also alleges that CV hit Sword on the shoulder, threatened to kill him, and caused so much mental damage that Sword and his family have all started seeing a psychiatrist. The news article also mentioned something really interesting that isn't directly related to this case. They quote an anonymous games industry official, whatever that means, who said that the saga of coaching abuse that began in baseball and winter sports has finally made it to esports. So I poked my head into that, and apparently in January, Korea's Human Rights Commission began investigating claims that athletes were verbally, physically, and occasionally sexually harassed by their coaches. Now I know this doesn't sound super relevant, but remember, back when this whole thing started, a lot of people in the know who, knew about the Korean League of Legends community or were part of it, talked about how this kind of verbally and physically aggressive coaching style was pretty common in Korea. Now, while that doesn't make it okay, it does tell us that coaches in Korea may be used to operating in a way that we in other parts of the world view as dangerous. Now, players in Korea are speaking up and saying that they're not all right with that. Which brings us to CV defense. First, News One reached out to him, and he told them that he and the players came to an agreement about his coaching style when it came to the verbal side of things. He also said that he never physically assaulted or harassed any of his players. Now, CV comes back to that defense a lot. Like, he said it in pretty much all of his streams and all of his interviews. He always says that he and the players had some sort of agreement. And I really want to question that, because sure, maybe they did talk about it, but that's your coach. He's an authority figure. He's basically your boss. And a bunch of kids who, let's be honest, these League of Legends players are very young. They're sometimes minors in the case of Kanavi, and otherwise young children or young adults. They're not going to necessarily fight him. They're just kind of going to go with what he says, whether they like it or not. Look, the point is, whatever relationship they had, it wasn't exactly balanced. Things were pretty heavily in CV favor as an authority figure. So whatever agreement they came to, I don't know if it really holds up, Then CVMax took to his stream and clarified things further. So right now we're working off a translation posted to Twitter by a user named Raptor, so thanks to them for doing this. CVMax stated that Sword's claims of assault are lies. He also alleged that Sword was mixing up his story between strangling and hitting, and I'm gonna be real, I actually hadn't seen any mentions of Sword saying that he was strangled, but CVMax says that that happened at some point. CVMax also alleged that Sword's parents were calling the parents of other Griffin players to find out if they were physically and verbally harassed. Now, the way that he said this on stream was allegedly like they were on a witch hunt for him, but that sounds pretty reasonable to me, actually. He also said that Viper, one of the Griffin players who actually stuck with the team, sent him a message of support saying that he missed the good old days. But of course, nobody provided any publicly available evidence to any of their claims. Allegedly, Riot has a recording of CVMax verbally abusing his players, but they haven't released that. Which means, beyond hearing those recordings, we have no way of knowing who's right or wrong until that third-party investigation is completed. So, let's do a quick recap of what we have from both sides. Sword says that he was verbally and physically assaulted by CVMax. CVMax countered by saying that while he may have gone too far verbally at times, he and the players came to an agreement and everything was cool. Also, he denies any physical abuse whatsoever. While Riot has said that that third-party investigation into CVMax's actions will be transparent and open, we actually haven't heard any updates from it, so it's not feeling super transparent right now. But there is one more interesting piece of news to come out of all of this, and shockingly, it has nothing to do with the whole abuse side of this scandal. Do you guys remember Kanavi? He was the player, he was a minor who was coerced into signing a contract that basically made him sign all of his rights away, including the right to consent to being transferred to another team. Well, it turns out that a lot of League of Legends players were on contracts that were also pretty rough, just like his. So, Senator Tae Kyung-ha, who was looking into the whole situation, basically forced KESPA, the government-supported body that oversees esports in Korea, to draft a new standard contract for esports players in Korea. The issue is that the new contract they drafted kind of fucking sucked. The new contract was allegedly worse than any of the old Griffin contracts, with some pretty insane clauses, including one that allowed teams to take in any prize money players earn from venue fees or prize winnings, just anything at all, and they could distribute it to that player as they saw fit with absolutely no oversight. They were also able to fire a player if that player ever spoke to the media, which crazy and bad for me. Oh, also, the new standard contract had a clause in it that let teams transfer players to other teams without their consent. And if that sounds familiar, that is the exact clause that was in Griffin's contract with Kanavi that kickstarted this whole mess in the first place. Like, if you're trying to draft a new shitty contract that is bad for players, at least leave out the one clause that started the whole problem. Like, how do you fuck up this bad?
You had one job to do.
So, Senator Ha is now calling on everyone, between KESPA, the teams involved, lawyers, Riot, everybody, to get together in a room and hash out a new contract that is fair to players. But the news that the new standard contract sucks kickstarted a new investigation, this time by the Korean Fair Trade Commission. They're now looking into Korean esports contracts in general, and hopefully they can enact some real change here, because apparently no one knows what the fuck they're doing. So basically what all that means is that Korean esports contracts are probably going to change forever, likely in ways that benefit players more than they do right now. That is likely going to cause huge changes in the Korean esports industry at large, in ways that honestly I don't think I'm super qualified to speculate on. But what I do know for sure is that we're going to keep updating you on this totally insane story, and as soon as we hear some new info, we'll let you know about it.
That was so much hand sanitizer.
It was. I'm like drenched in hand sanitizer now. Dripping. Wonderful. Can you give me less hand sanitizer this time?
Yeah, that was a lot.
I'm like, it dripped.
I saw it drip down.
Yeah, it was like dripping on the floor. I'm like, all right, Matt.
Would you say it's drip?
No, I wouldn't say it's drip.